People across Indiana are picking up the pieces this morning after a 100-year flood just ravaged the central and eastern part of the state. As of this morning, more than 110,000 people remain without power, and at least 7 people have died. Multiple rivers overflowed their banks around Indianapolis, and 2 days after 110-mile-per-hour straight-line winds hit the northwestern portion of the state near Chicago. And also over in Hawaii, cleanup is set to begin today in Hawaii after Tropical Storm Lala battered the islands. More than 150,000 people are still without power this morning. Governor Josh Green saying that at least 100 homes were damaged or even totally lost. Rescue crews are still responding to the flooding. Landslides even blocked roads. A flood watch remains in place with officials warning of dangerous conditions. Crews are going to focus on restoring power today and clearing the roads. Some new reporting says the U.S. is asking NATO countries to answer a series of questions about how they support U.S. foreign policy. According to Bloomberg, those involve questions like, has the country been publicly supportive of the U.S.? And what restrictions has the country placed on the U.S. using its bases? Tensions have been rising between NATO countries and the president over this conflict with Iran and his push for allies to spend more on defense. And there's a growing concern that Russia is also testing NATO countries as it struggles with its invasion of Ukraine. NATO jets shot down a suspected Russian drone that breached Romanian airspace on Sunday, 2 days after NATO downed a drone at Latva. The incident comes as U.S. intelligence concluded that Russia was likely responsible for a drone carrying explosives that was found at a German airport this month. For more on this, let's bring in Atlantic Council Distinguished Fellow, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. Ambassador, thank you for being with us this morning. The big question here is NATO being pulled into an active role in the war in Ukraine?
So, Alicia, they are participating. NATO is involved in the war. NATO is supporting Ukraine. European nations, European members of NATO are stepping up their support for Ukraine as the U.S. contribution goes down. So the Europeans are taking up the slack and are providing as much of the weapons as they can to Ukraine at this point.
I also want to get your thoughts on this reporting that the White House is reportedly pushing NATO allies to publicly support President Trump's policies as it reviews U.S. troop deployment in Europe, including asking questions like I mentioned there a moment ago, if they've restricted U.S. military base use and if they're spending money with U.S. defense contractors. Is there a precedent for this kind of push?
Not that I know of, Alicia. There's no precedent for this, but what's really pushing the Europeans is less the demands from the United States and more the concern, as you just reported, about Russia. They recognize, because the Russians invaded Ukraine, invaded a sovereign country without provocation, Europeans recognize that Russia is the problem. That is the real threat, is the real threat to their security. That's why they're upping their game. That's why they're increasing their defense spending.
I wonder, when you pull back, what this means for NATO more broadly, because President Trump's commitment to NATO does seem a bit flimsier by the day. He's demanding that our allies spend more on defense, but also lashing out at them for doing that without our help. What's the messaging in terms of our international partners? What are they taking away from all this? Are they in a no-win situation right now?
Actually, they're increasing their own security. You're exactly right. The United States is pulling back. The United States is reducing the support for Ukraine. Also, as you just reported, probably for NATO. But what that means, the Europeans have to step up. They have to provide for their own security. And that's what they're doing now. That means that they're going to invest more in their own defense capabilities, their own defense industrial capabilities. They're continuing to buy weapons from the United States, but they are looking to make it possible for them to defend themselves.
Yeah. Our NATO alliance has survived almost 80 years, but I think the question becomes, can it survive President Trump's pressure campaign, particularly as you point out, the EU is facing its biggest challenge security in decades.
It is, and they recognize that the big challenge is Russia. So they're building their own capabilities, and NATO may come out stronger, Alicia. It may be that a European pillar, a European component of NATO that is able to defend more of itself at the same time having the U.S. pillar, that combination of a European pillar and a American pillar in NATO makes NATO stronger overall.
Let me ask you about this. President Trump is moving our last aircraft carrier in Asia to the Middle East to relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln amid reports of worsening conditions on board the ship, which has been at sea for more than 250 days straight. How is this potentially something that China is going to interpret? Does that leave us with a blind spot in the Pacific?
I wouldn't say a blind spot, Alicia, but it does reduce the capabilities, the military capabilities in that part of the world. And of course, China is watching this. They will notice.
Do you anticipate any further movement with Taiwan? Because some would say that USS George Washington being in the Pacific kind of was a deterrent.
It is a deterrent. The United States presence in that part of the world, in Asia, is a deterrent for China. China apparently is not yet ready militarily to take any action, take any big action against Taiwan. However, they're building up, they are a threat, and the deterrence needs to be reinforced.
Yeah, let me ask you also about this. President Trump making another big change in our military stance in Asia, instructing War Secretary Pete Hegseth to substantially scale back joint military exercises with South Korea, saying that they need to send, quote, totally inappropriate and hostile a signal to Kim Jong-un, who he calls a unthreatening and respectful. What do you make of this pretty massive change to the U.S. policy on North Korea?
It is a massive change. The threat is that the North Koreans will use the capabilities that the Russians have provided them, by the way. The Russians have provided North Korea with incredible abilities on the military side, including nuclear. And the South Koreans need to step up their game to deter that. So the South Koreans now see that the United States seems to be pulling back from its commitments. And so the North Koreans will notice that as well, just as you just pointed out, the Chinese will. So the South Koreans are going to have to increase their capabilities.
What does this all say about how President Trump is seeing countries like Russia, like China, like North Korea, and what that means for our international alliance, since we seem to be on very different pages here?
Our alliances, Alicia, are very important for us. We are much stronger if we are together with our allies. Japan, South Korea, all of Europe, we are much stronger with them. The Russians don't have those kind of allies. The Chinese don't have those kind of allies. That's our strength. We need to develop, support, and reinforce those allies in order to deter the Russians and the Chinese.
All of this activity certainly seems like a test for the region, but also a test for our alliance. Ambassador William Taylor, really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, newly sworn in